quiet. I am at a campground, but I do not have a reserved spot. And I think you're supposed to have a reserved spot, but I don't. And I tried to get a hold of somebody, and that didn't work out. Hold on a second here. So that's my little spiel here. Not really in a designated area, but I don't really know what else to do. I am very tired. I tried to get a hold of people about getting a spot, unsuccessful in that, and I looked into hotel room, but I'm really in the middle of nowhere. Like, sometimes you go to those places and you think maybe I shouldn't be here. This is one of those places. There's a beautiful campground out here, which I'm technically on the opposite side of the lake from, because it really needs some light in here, I know it. But at the same time, I don't want to draw too much attention, because I'm hoping to get camp set up, get in here, get to sleep, and sleep for a few hours before I'm told to leave or move or whatever, because I'm really tired and I need to sleep. This is a campground designed for the intent of what I'm trying to use it for. That is too stinking bright. It's bringing too much attention. But I'm gonna try to get my air mattress set up. See if I can give you a quick shot of that. Air mattress. Trying to get that set up. So I'm going to try to get my bed set up and get some sleep. I'll see you guys later. Good night. Hello there. Good morning. So I got a little bit of sleep. Should probably pack up. Get out of here. Well, I think it was a success. Again, I don't know if this was illegal, but I got some rest and I'm ready for some coffee. after AMA Hall of Fame and the bike night, after winning the award for my bike and for my story about my first year of AMA and being a year of first, I decided to go camp, relax a little bit, and just rest. I might have illegally camped last night. I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm done camping for last night, and I decided that as I'm moving on, I would stop and I would look at this amazing tree. I've been seeing these more and more. This is the American chestnut. I want to tell you a little bit about the American chestnut. The American chestnut, the mighty giant. The American chestnut tree was once one of the most important trees in our eastern forest. The tree's native range extended from Georgia all the way to Maine and west to the Ohio River Valley. In the Appalachian Mountains, roughly 1 tree in 4 was an American chestnut. The American chestnut could grow very large and fast, allowing it to become the dominant tree in many areas. In mature stands, the tree could grow for 300 years or more, reach over 100 feet in height and more than 6 feet in diameter. These traits inspired the nickname, the mighty giant. American chestnut trees bloom in the early summer. Where the trees once grew thickly on Appalachian ridges, their creamy white flowers made the mountainsides appear snow-covered. The native wildlife depended extensively on the nutritious nuts, especially deer, turkeys, squirrels, and bears. The cradle-to-grave tree. Chestnutting, gathering chestnuts, was both a social activity and provided income, particularly in rural communities. Railroad cars were loaded with nuts for shipment to the larger cities where vendors could sell them freshly roasted. Farmers fastened their livestock on the nuts and used the nuts in traditional recipes and even ground the nut meat into flour. The tree was also an excellent source of lumber. It grew straight, often branch-free, for the first 50 feet or more. It was straight-grained, easily split, rot-resistant, and lighter than oak. Chestnut was known as the cradle-to-grave tree, as it was used for both cradles and caskets, as well as many other everyday items. The lumber was also used for split rail fences, post and beam construction, railroad ties, shingles, panels, and telephone poles, some of which are still in use today. Tell you what, it'd be nice to have some chestnut trees today. Doing construction, anybody can tell you today, lumber isn't what it used to be. It gets warped and it just doesn't hold up. So chestnut trees are amazing, and I wish we had more around. And I tell you, they are incredibly tall and big around, and it's just like you look way up. Wow. Chestnut blight strikes. First identified in 1904 in New York's Bronx Zoological Park, the chestnut blight is caused by an Asiatic fungus, Cryphonectria parasitica, and is almost always lethal to the American chestnut. Moving through the range of the chestnut at a rate of up to 30 miles a year, by the 1950s, the chestnut blight had devastated over 200 million acres, killing an estimated 4 billion chestnut trees. The loss of the chestnut is often cited as the worst ecological disaster of the 20th century in the U.S. In fact, because of the unintentional import of chestnut blight, the federal government created its first plant quarantine laws. So how the blight kills. Chestnut blight is characterized by blight fungus, which feeds on the cambium tissue under the bark of the tree. The fungus creates cankers that break through the bark, cutting off the flow of nutrients between the leaves and the roots, which kills the tree. Typical cankers on young, smooth-barked trees first appear orange in contrast to the normal green or gray bark. Thick bark on larger trees become cracked and flaky. Stump sprouts. The roots of the chestnut are usually not affected by fungus, the base of the tree, or stump for many years. These sprouts can sometimes grow 30 feet or more before succumbing to the chestnut blight.
Sometimes a fortunate sprout will avoid the blight and grow large enough to produce flowers and seed. The 9,390-acre forest was named after the Native American trail that ran from what is now Chillicothe to Portsmouth. During World War I, the area that is now Scioto Trails State Forest was used as an artillery range for 75mm guns and 6-inch howitzers from Camp Sherman. During the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps built most of the roads, lakes, and early recreational facilities. The 60-foot tall fire tower was built in 1925 and was the second of 39 fire towers built in Ohio. It was in operation until 1978. Scioto Trail Fire Tower. Built in 1925, fire wardens and foresters used the 60-foot tall Scioto Trail Fire Tower to spot blazes on Ohio lands. Ohio fire towers were staffed by lookouts and equipped with binoculars, maps, a radio, telephone, and an alidade, a device used to pinpoint a wildfire location. At the time Scioto Trail Fire Tower was built, it had an average visibility of 10 miles in all directions. Though the last tower was closed in 1978, this tower still stands as a proud symbol of forest conservation and a monument to the people who work to preserve our natural resources. From the top of the tower, the Scioto Trail Fire Tower provides a magnificent 360-degree view of the surrounding forests and hills. In 1983, a dedicated group of scientists founded the American Chestnut Foundation with the mission of restoring the American chestnut to our eastern forests to benefit our environment, our wildlife, and our society. Centered at research farms in Meadowview, Virginia, the goal of TACF's breeding program is to develop American chestnut trees that are resistant to the chestnut blight and able to create a self-sustaining population that can continue to evolve in a natural forest environment. Additionally, in order to breed trees that are regionally adapted to the wide climatic variations found throughout the vast range of the chestnut, TACF state chapters have established over 300 chestnut breeding orchards from Maine to Georgia, containing more than 120,000 chestnut trees. In 2009, TACF announced the first forest planting of our potentially blight-resistant chestnuts we call Restoration Chestnut 1.0. Today, planting, testing, and evaluating these remarkable seeds continues, while additional breeding and development is underway to produce even more advanced and blight-resistant chestnuts in the future. Much of this work, as well as the tending of breeding orchards, is being done by some of the 6,000 dedicated TACF members and volunteers in 20 states. These efforts are vital to the Foundation's activities. Recent developments in the science of molecular genetics now offer the promise of accelerating our breeding process by allowing us to screen the genetic sequences of chestnuts to see if they have the genetic composition desired by our scientists. Although it will likely be several decades before large quantities of American chestnuts once again populate our eastern forests, the future is beginning to look much brighter for the mighty giant chestnut. So now, having a little more knowledge and information about the American chestnut, let's move on down the road. So I decided to put my dirt bike in the bike show at the AMA Hall of Fame's bike night. Now, my bike is pretty beat up. The brake lever, the clutch lever, they're bent. The rear subframe is cockeyed because I wreck sometimes, and that actually happened when I broke my collarbone. It's got scratches on it, scuffed up. It's 2004, so it's not like it's a brand new show bike. But I'm Jesse Parsons. I decided to put that in the bike show. People were looking at it. I didn't see anybody looking at it that didn't have a smile on their face. And I was joking a little bit with some people. And there's one guy I was telling, oh, I see they got their suits on. I better go get my suit on. He said, oh yeah, you better. And I said, I better go prepare my acceptance speech. She's like, oh yeah, if you plan on winning, you better. You know, we joked about it, had fun in that. And then there came a time where I was able to share a story of like the first year that I was with AMA, which was last year. I just renewed earlier this year for my second year. I got the dirt bike. It's a lot. I need to write a letter about it, and maybe they'll publish it. People can get the whole story, but this is my first dirt bike. I started racing for the first time. Arena cross, broke my collarbone. Started this YouTube channel, and you know, I went to the Hall of Fame's induction ceremony for Travis Pastrana, Grant Langston, and Ryan Dungey, and Rita Coombs as well, and a couple others. But I also got interviews with them. The man was familiar to me, and he kind of looked like he was judging the bikes. So I went over and was talking with him, and I was like, so what do I got to do to bribe you to make sure I win? You know, just having fun and just living it up. And then I started sharing my story, you know, first, and I concluded it as such. So in conclusion, it's a story of first, I guess. And when I signed up for the contest, the bike show, there was a thing at the bottom where it said comments. And so I wrote in there something like, there's a story that must be told, or something like that. And you know, then I shared with them my first and that, which I've always got stories to tell. But the man was like, that's a pretty good story. I'll keep that in mind. I'll consider that. I didn't know what he meant by that, but I was like, okay, you know. And so I ended up winning. I mean, I didn't win like best bike of the show or whatever, but I got a special merit award. And a lot of it was just due, I mean, all of it, I guess, was due to my story. And, you know, it's just a really good story. And I want to encourage you, if you are not a member of AMA, go join up. If you were a member in the past, you're like, I didn't get much out of it. Go join up, get involved. You know, do some of the stuff, use some of the discounts or whatever that you didn't before. If you've never been a member of AMA and you never really considered it, consider it. I mean, it's a great place to be. It's, I'll tell you what, man, I went last night and I was nothing but smiles the entire time. I walked up and down this hill, back and forth to my truck. It's wearing me out. But I needed to do that for different reasons. One was I was gonna put my bike in the competition, so I had to go unload it from the truck and ride it up there and stick it where it goes, and then I had to take it back, of course, and I rode through this little pit bike adventure trail, and man, that was hard. I was not even halfway up through first gear ever, and it was really hard because it was so stinking tight. It was just a left right, and I had to duck for part of it. I'm on my 450, so it's just like, it's too much. Anyway, like I say, I was nothing but smiles. I got to joke with the staff the whole time. Everybody had a great attitude. It was a very, very positive place to be. And I encourage you, if you have never been part of the AMA, or it's been a while, join up and go be part of it. I mean, motorcycling is what we do. And I tell you what, after all of that was done, I was watching a kid ride I guess it was a 250, and I was watching him ride around this little pit bike track. And there were some close calls because it looked like he didn't really have a lot of experience. So I called him over to me and I asked him about it. I said, you know, how long you been riding? You have a lot of experience? He said, not long, no, not really. And I said, I could kind of tell. I see you're sitting down a lot and you're hitting some of these jumps sitting down, and it's trying to throw you off. I said, it'll do that sitting down. So I gave him some tips. I asked him, I said, if you want, I can give you some tips. I can, you know, come over here by my bike on the back of my truck I'll try to show you some techniques for body position and, you know, help you out to have more control of your bike and to be a better rider. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So that's what we did. And he was like, wow, you know, you gave me so much information, and this is going to be a big help. And I encouraged him. I said, why don't you go ride some and I'll watch and critique you, and, you know, for a little while before I leave, and just try to help you get it ingrained. Because if you take this knowledge now and then you go home without going and riding and practicing it, you know, you're going to forget a lot of it. It's going to really slow your acquisition of the knowledge down. So anyway, that's what we did. And, you know, he was making progress pretty quick. And I told him I didn't want to give him too much because I know how it is. And he's like, oh no, I can process this. I'm good. I was like, okay. It wasn't too long. I kept calling him out, like, you know, get your knees a little straighter, bring your elbows up a little more, that kind of thing. And, you know, after a little while of riding, he came to me and he's like, oh. I was like, what is it? And he says, my shoulders are killing me. I said, well, that's good. You know, you're growing. Your body's making adjustment or whatever. And it was just an awesome time. You know, I got to help that kid out some, and I got to win this award for my bike and for my story. And it was an awesome experience. Go be part of AMA, American Motorcyclist Association. You know, they got discounts, all kinds of stuff. So go check them out. So to add to that, that was my very first bike night ever. That was the very first time that I entered any motorcycle into a bike show contest. And that was my very first time ever winning an award like that for something like that. So in conclusion, I got some more firsts. And that sun is really bright. Hey, have a good day.